What's going on, guys? Stefan here with you, S&E's Garage. Behind us we have this beautiful 2019 Acura TLX in the shop today. We're going to be taking care of the front brakes and doing a brake flush. Now this TLX here is optioned the only way that I would ever want one of these cars, and that is with the 3.5 liter V6 engine. I would not want this with the 4-cylinder turbo. I don't like small turbocharged engines. They're just not my style. I like big NA engines, and this is equipped as such, super handling all-wheel drive, and it is in beautiful shape. This car is all the way in from Staten Island, New York, when we're all the way in South Jersey, so this customer drove all the way down here for me to take care of their car, and we're happy to do that for them. So let's go ahead, let's show you which kind of brakes that we went with this car, and let's go ahead and get it set up on the lift. All right, guys, so what we have here are some dynamic friction geospec coated rotors. Part numbers right here, I'll leave them in the video description below. 604-58026. They're the same on the left and the right, doesn't matter. And then we have some dynamic friction advanced 5000 ceramic pads. Again, here's the part number. I will leave them in the video description below. 1551-1584-00. And then they also come with some nice new hardware. And then we are going with some Lucas synthetic .4 brake fluid to go ahead and flush the brakes. So let's go ahead, set it up on the lift. We got the wheel lock key already right here. We're gonna go ahead, pull the front wheels off, and let's just double check, make sure this thing really needs brakes like the dealer says. This is another one of those cars where the customer was told that they needed brakes, so they called me, and I said, you know what, let's just get them. We'll get them here. And they have one of those video multi-point inspections that shows the brakes are low, so hopefully that's what we find when we pull the wheels, but let's get them off. So to remove these wheels, you're going to need a 19mm either socket and ratchet, or a 19mm with an impact gun. If you're not using a gun, you're going to want to leave the car on the ground when you break them loose, and then you can go ahead and jack it up. But we're zipping them off. Drop the nut. Okay, let's go ahead, get the other side off. Go ahead and check out these brakes, see if they're really as bad as the dealer said. So what we have here is a set of what I call brake fingers. When I was in the dealer, I used these a lot to sell brakes because that's what they are. They're a tool to help you visualize to a customer how low their brakes are. Now what we have here, this is the 4mm finger, and the 4mm one just fits. So this front outboard pad is at a 4. Let's go ahead really quickly and turn this in. And the inboard pad is quite a bit thicker, actually, so we might have something going on with these slides. We're going to have to take a look at that. But let's go ahead and do the same thing here. We're at about a 4mm on the outboard. And again, we're a little bit thicker. We're at like a 5 on the inboard. So are they as bad as the dealer said they are? No, they told her she was at 2mm. So she didn't have to rush to get this done like she was told, but they do need to be replaced nonetheless. I usually start recommending them around 3 or 4mm. So you're right in the area where I would say, personally what I would say is next oil change we'll reevaluate, but we're here, it does need brakes and we have them. So let's go ahead and start getting it done. So to go ahead and remove these calipers, it's just going to be 2 17mm bolts back here. Zip them off. And the slide pins are actually nice and free, so maybe the hardware is a little seized up. But what we're going to do now, and I will leave some of these in the video description below, these are caliper hangers. We're just going to go ahead, pull this caliper off. I'm gonna put it through the mounting hole here, and then we're just going to hang it off of the strut like so, so it's out of the way and it's not hanging on the hose. So now we can go ahead and remove this hardware and remove these pads. Now we just have to take this caliper bracket off. It looks like it's gonna be a 19 millimeter. Let's test that theory now because I already have a 19 set up here from the wheels. And they are. So, again, very quickly. Impact gun will make very quick work of that. Like so. You can get this caliper bracket off. All right, so the next thing you're gonna need here to make your life easier is one of these guys. I'll leave one in the video description below. This is an impact screwdriver. And what we use them for is to go ahead and remove the factory set screw that is in the rotor. If you do not remove this with an impact screwdriver and you try to use a regular one, there's a very, very good chance that you will strip that out and then have to drill it. And that's never a fun time. So now we got that rotor off, we're gonna go ahead, take a wire brush, and we're just gonna clean this hub up. So I'll leave one of these in the video description below. It's gonna be useful for multiple points of this brake job. We're gonna use it here to clean the hub. We're gonna use it to service the caliper bracket. So you're not seeking perfection here. You just wanna knock off any of the loose, large pieces of rust. And the reason you wanna do that is so the rotor sits nice and flush on this hub. Now this is a level of service that you may not get at a dealership. Most, if not all, mechanics at a dealership are flat rate, myself included, when I was at the dealer, and we get paid on how fast we do a job. Now doing this to this level, it's adding time to the job, and it's taking time away from the tech that he could be working on another car, making more money. So be careful where you take your cars. You don't want somebody that's gonna be just trying to rush to get your car done and on to the next. That kind of person, your car is just a number to them. Take it to somebody who cares about their job, takes pride in their work, and will personally stand behind their work. All right, let's go ahead and grab one of those new rotors. Now we went with these dynamic friction rotors for a couple of reasons. Number one, they are coated. They are coated with a material that is going to prevent these rotors from rusting. Number two is the fact that they don't coat them with a bunch of oil and stuff to keep them from rusting in the box. They simply don't need to because they're coated. So it's gonna make cleanup when you're doing your brakes easier. It's going to allow the pads to bed in better because they won't have all that oil on there. And they're just a better rotor, in my opinion. Now, when you are putting the rotor on, you're just gonna wanna make sure you clock it correctly so your set screw will go in. And the set screw does not need to be killed. We're just gonna go ahead, like you just saw us do, we're gonna tighten it, and then I'm just gonna take my hammer and give it one quick knock to go ahead and there you have it. Let's go ahead and service that caliper bracket. So servicing this bracket is actually super easy. I just have it set up in this box here because we're gonna make a mess here. We're gonna go ahead and pull this old hardware off. Take our wire brush again. Like I said, you are gonna be using this at several points of this job, so I will leave one in the video description below. Try not to breathe this dust in. You'll see what I do, I blow it away from me every once in a while. But now we can go ahead and take our new hardware. Now these dynamic friction hardware. This is actually really nice. They coat the back of it so it doesn't rust, jack. Basically, it doesn't rust and push the hardware into the pad and get them stuck, which is actually really nice. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is take some synthetic brake parts lubricant. I like to use the silicone stuff. I'll leave some in the video description below. I don't like using the purple stuff on slides unless it's the only thing I have. I have seen it get gummed up before. So we're just going to put a little bit on this, like so. And then as you put it in, you're going to want to rotate it. That way you get that lubricant on the whole bore here of the bracket. Let's go ahead and get this bracket back on the car. Now we are just starting our 19mm bolts here for the caliper bracket. Now you don't need to murder these, just snug them up. You know, make them tight, but you don't got to kill them. So let's just go ahead, turn this way. And I'm just gonna give them a couple of ugga-duggies here. Okay, there's one. There's two. Let's go get our pads. All right, guys, now we're gonna take our new pads here and some of this purple brake lube that I told you I don't like using on the slides. I use that here on the pads. I'll leave some of this in the video description below. You're just gonna put a little bit here on the contact patch where the pad is going to contact the hardware and slide them into place. Like so. Now for the back pad, you're gonna have a squealer here. You're gonna want the squealer to be on the leading edge of the rotor. So if the rotor is spinning this way when it's going forward, we're gonna want this squealer on this side on the top. So again, go ahead, take some of this purple Smurf juice and slide our pads into place like so. Now at this point, we're gonna go ahead and take our caliper down. I'm gonna set it here and we're going to go and grab our caliper compressor. Again, I'll leave one of these in the video description below. So this is a Lang 277. This is actually one of my favorite brake tools ever. It is ratcheting. I just went ahead and stuck a brake pad in there to kind of close the gap a little bit. So now we're just gonna go ahead and open this up. And this ratcheting action will go ahead and compress our caliper. Like I said, that is literally one of my favorite brake tools that I own. And now that we've got that caliper compressed, we can go ahead and take our brake pad return springs here. That dynamic friction includes a new set in their pad kit, and install them into the pads. Now this gets a little bit tricky because you're gonna have to hold the pads into the hardware here while sliding the caliper on. Then we can take our bolts here and get them in. and zip them on the rest of the way. Okay, this side's done. Let's go ahead on the other side. We'll throw you on a time lapse. We'll be back with you when we're done.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness.
Alright guys, and just like that, our front brakes on this car are done. You'll see we got our nice new pads in there. Everything's lubed up. We serviced the bracket. Everything's good. Let's go ahead and check our work on this side. Again, everything looks good. So now we're going to leave these front wheels off. We're going to leave the back wheels on. And we're going to go ahead and flush the brakes now. So let me show you what we're going to be using here. What we have here, I'll leave one of these in the video description below. This is like an automatic master cylinder filler. So as we are drawing fluid out from each caliper, that device is going to make sure that our master cylinder stays full. That is huge. If it does not stay full, we can get air in the system. Never a good thing. And we're going to be using our Mighty Vac here. We're going to plug one end of this hose into the bleeder. The other end goes into the pump. And this container here is what is going to end up capturing our brake fluid. So let's go ahead. Let's get the car down. Let's suck all the old stuff out of that master cylinder, fill it up with some fresh fluid, and then we're going to start flushing. So first, let's go ahead and take a look here in that master cylinder at just how dark and dingy that brake fluid is. Here's the cap, there's the strainer. Brake fluid is what we call in the business hygroscopic. It absorbs moisture. Now, how dark it is does not necessarily relate to how much moisture is in it, but I like to flush them every 3 to 5 years, and this car is right on that mark. So again, we're going to go ahead and do it. So let me get you set up here on the tripod. And what we are going to do, like I said, we're going to use our little Mighty Vac. We're going to suck all of that old fluid out of the master cylinder, and then we're going to fill it back up with some fresh fluid. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to flush these brakes that much faster, because instead of having to flush all of the old fluid that's in there through the lines before we get fresh fluid, we'll be starting with fresh fluid once the line's evacuated. So let's go ahead now and suck this old, dingy, dirty brake fluid here out of this master cylinder. Okay, let me go dump this out and suck the rest out. Just take a look at just how dark that is. All right, and what we're gonna do now is go ahead and set our automatic master cylinder filler up here in a way that it's not going to fall. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and open it up. And what this is going to do is ensure that our master cylinder never runs dry while we are flushing. So back here, you're gonna need an 11 millimeter what we're using here is a line wrench to go ahead and crack the bleeder loose. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Just like I said, we're just going to crack it loose. And now we're going to go ahead and set up our machine here to pull the fluid through the line. I like to fill one of these up basically per side that I do, or per caliper. So let's just make sure we're pulling a vacuum here, which we are, and let's just begin sucking some fluid out of it. So there's really no reason for you to watch me do this. We're just going to repeat this process on all 4 corners. We'll show you the results when we're done. All right, guys, we went ahead and did that brake flush. Again, we used the method that we showed you. We started in the right rear, went to left rear, then right front and left front. Basically, you start from the furthest away from the master cylinder, and our automatic master cylinder filler here kept our master cylinder nice and full. So once you're done doing that flush, like I said, you do about a bottle of that per corner. You're gonna lower the car down with the wheels back on it, and then you're gonna pump the brake pedal, let all that fluid fill those calipers back up, and then you're just going to top off your brake fluid. And let's just take a look at how nice and clean and clear that fluid is now compared to how it was. So now we're going to go ahead, we're going to put our strainer back in, and then we can go ahead and put our cap back on like so. Now, like we mentioned earlier, do not forget to pump that pedal up. You do not want to be stuck in a situation where you have no brakes. It's not a fun time. But we're gonna just double check our brake operation here, make sure everything feels nice and smooth, which it does. So I've actually never driven one of these newer Acuras, and it actually drives really, really nice, and it's got some good power. But what we're going to check now is just for brake operation. We're going to go ahead and hit the brakes, make sure we have no pulsations or anything. And do keep in mind that these rotors are coated, so you do need to break them in. You do need to do a couple of stops to wear that coating off and then bed the pads in. So we're just going to go ahead and do that now. Just a couple of light stops from 40 to 40 to 10, 30 to 10, moderate brake pressure. Like I said, we want to wear all that stuff off, and then you're just going to drive it for a few minutes to let those rotors cool back down before you come to a stop. Otherwise, you can bake a section of the pad into the rotor, which would, cause vibrations and things like that. But with that being said, we are all done here. If this video helped you, please like, share, and subscribe. You just went ahead and flushed your brakes and replaced your front pads at a fraction of the cost that a dealership would have charged you.